Good morning and welcome to Mission Alive. I'm Brother Greg McCann and I'm continuing the story of the early MSCs in China and the continuing saga that took place after 1998. As I've mentioned before to you, I started off in Fuzhou. I had Father Greg McAnally with me. Father Greg stayed in Fuzhou. I went to Zunyi, and Zunyi is central southwest China, but a little closer to Shijian, where the MSCs originally were. I was at Zunyi Medical University, but I was able to get to Shijian. The bishop used to organise for me to have his car, and that was very good of him to do that. And he's still a good friend of mine, and Bishop Paul Xiao. It's a hard job to be a bishop in China these days, I can tell you. Anyway, let's continue the story of what happened when I got to Shijian. When I got to Shijian, of course, I heard all these angels, whatever they were. Turns out they were the orphans. They'd run out of money. They didn't know what they were going to do next. But I was getting a good wage, and so I was able to help them a bit so that they could keep the orphans. So let's just go and continue our story. There were approximately 400 Catholics in Shijian when I got there, and the number hasn't changed much over the years. About a quarter of them attend Mass on a regular basis. As you enter the presbytery, the first thing you notice are the photos of the early missionaries, the early MSC German missionaries on the wall. During the Cultural Revolution, they had to be very careful. So they took these photographs down and hid them. And they put them back up again in 1991. But that's how much respect they had for these early missionaries, these early German missionaries. They were held in great esteem, and I'm proud to be a part of their story. You can see in the photograph there, see the pictures of the early missionaries? And a lot of the pictures that I had previously in part one came from these these pictures here. These are two of the orphans. The other three were very shy and didn't want to have their photo taken. But there was Amy and Anna. They always seem to start with A. There were another couple too who started with A, I can't remember. Anyway, please look carefully at Amy, because that's a really interesting story. We're going to come back to Amy later on, okay? So, after my first visit there that time to Shijian, I offered to sponsor the orphans. And after some negotiation with Bishop Paul Xiao, the Bishop of the Guizhou Diocese, Mark MacDonald, who was the Superior General of the MSCs at the time, and also the MSC General Administration in Rome, offered to find funds to restore the church. The church was definitely in a terrible state of disrepair. This is a council meeting that we had. Father Greg McAnally, myself, and one of my students. We always took a student with me so that she would translate. We sat around. That's the mill. That's a coal burning fireplace, and you put the food on it. There's the food on the keeps the food hot. But that's what you would do. This is a typical country meal from a poor person's point of view, for sure. But a feast. They put on a feast for Father Greg and I. You know, all these different dishes that they had. That's not normal. They would normally have 2 or 3 maybe, but not 6 or 7. So they really put on a special show for us, and I thought that was wonderful.